Checking out the Gear for Music Baritone 6 on the bench today. This thing is an absolute beast with a 30-inch scale length on a roasted maple neck. You can see it's got the offset style body. This comes in multiple colors, including a left-handed model. Very cool reverse headstock on here. A pair of ceramic magnet humbuckers hooked up to a three-way switch. Master volume and master tone on here. The strings go through the body. There's a nice little tummy cut on there and a nice access point on the neck. You can even see they've got some little bolts holding the neck in over there. The thing that is very interesting about this is this retails for £199 if you're in the UK. So somewhere around $200 US, which is probably somewhere around 350 to 400 Australian dollars, meaning that in Australia anyway, it's about the price of 3 coffees. And what I want to do here is start by giving you some tonal examples of this, and I'll kind of talk about the playing experience, and I'll talk about how I've enjoyed tuning it while I've had it on here. So the recommendation, I guess, on the website, if you see it, is to tune it E to E. So the low string would be the same pitch as an E string on a bass guitar. However, this uses much lighter strings. I think this has 14 to 68s on it from the factory. So it's not necessarily going to sound exactly like a bass guitar, even though it is going to live down in the bass range. If you're familiar with the old Fender Bass 6 style guitar on there, you know, is it a bass? Is it a guitar? You can kind of use it for both, but they are very much their own thing. And if you're into the giant chungus kind of stuff in extremely low tunings, this is a great entry point for that. So let's hear some tunes and some tones tuned E to E on this, basically like a standard electric guitar down a whole octave. Then I'll talk through another tuning I've been enjoying. The playing experience on this, if you're coming from electric guitar, can take a little bit of a learning curve, but I don't think there's as much of a learning curve as going from electric guitar to 7-string or 8-string or bass guitar on there. If you can play a 6-string electric guitar, you can definitely get used to this a lot faster than you could any of those other instruments on there. What I have found is that the neck profile on here, being that sort of modern C shape, it doesn't feel chunky or anything like that. I think that's the one thing they've done a very good job with on here, where even though it's an absolute chungus of a guitar, you don't get that feeling where, you know, you're playing an extended range instrument or you're playing another instrument on there. I think it definitely lives in the electric guitar category if you wanted to put labels on it. The fit and finish is not too bad at all for a guitar, again, that's under 200 pounds on here. You can see the nut is relatively tidy. I think if you wanted to add a really beefy low string on there, that would obviously have to be adjusted. The fret ends going up and down the neck are nice and smooth. There is binding on here, which I don't think would have been my first choice. The fingerboard edges aren't rolled. So, you know, it does have that feeling where, yeah, maybe you know you're playing a budget guitar on here and not a high-end PRS or something like that. The other thing that did kind of throw me a little bit is just where the toggle switch is over here. I think because I'm so used to playing stuff like the PRS guitars, I expect to have basically the controls here and then the switch here, or even on a Strat, having the switch over here. So getting it used to being over here was the one thing when I was playing, and, you know, like you're on the bridge playing rhythm, you want to go over to the neck and play some leads on there, I'd find myself looking for it. That's just an ergonomic thing. And again, there's a big scratch plate on here, so I guess if you wanted to mod this, you could do that. The Tune-o-matic feels pretty solid on there as well, which I like. But again, if you wanted to do like a Loathe style thing and put like, you know, 0.105 on the bottom, you would definitely need to take this to a tech or do some mods to it. Overall, I think it's actually a pretty good modding platform as well for, you know, 200 pounds. Again, you could slap some aftermarket pickups in this, you could get into it and mod it to your specs. And if you're somebody who's already got a bunch of other guitars and you wanted to experiment with this style of instrument, it's probably a pretty good way to get into it. So the overall fit and finish, the vibe that I get off this is pretty nice. It's pretty comparable to some other modern things that I've tried, especially here in Australia, the things like the artist guitars, where, you know, 10 years ago, you weren't getting guitars of this quality with the specs that you're getting on it. And for such a specialized instrument, it is really cool that they're making it, I guess, as widely available as a standard Strat style guitar or something like that, that other companies have been doing for a million years now. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of the core tones that you can get out of this guitar using it in that standard bass 6 inspired tuning, just E to E on a guitar, but a whole octave lower. What I've found myself gravitating towards with this instrument though, is a tuning inspired by the band Loathe. I believe they use this on a bunch of their songs, where basically you use these top 5 strings like the low 5 strings on a drop A 7 string. So you've got A, E, A, D, and G. Then you add a low E onto all of that. And the low E is kind of the bonus string on there. So I'll give you a very quick rundown of what you can do with that. Basically, you can play this gigantic power chord by just barring across the second fret on the top two strings, then strumming all of the strings on the guitar. It's just all E's and A's. You can kind of move that shape around. But what I've found is, having played in drop C on 6-string a lot and having played drop A and drop G on a 7-string a lot of the extended chord shapes move across. So I'll give you the tuning, then I'll play some very basic chords, and we'll hear even more examples. Super fun stuff on there. If you'd like to learn more, I'll put a link to the guitar in the video description. A big thank you to Gear for Music for sending this one out so that I can make a bunch of filthy guitar noises with it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, especially given the features at the price point on here. And again, if you're someone looking to get into an extended range instrument, but you don't want to have to worry about extra strings, you want a pretty comfortable neck profile on there and a more guitar-like string spacing, this definitely feels way more like a guitar than a bass, kind of like the Bass 6 thing, you know? While it does have a bass tuning if you want it on there, it has the extra strings, it's got the narrower neck, the narrower nut, the closer string spacing on there, and you can kind of transfer all your guitar-specific techniques over here. We did hear a few little tones in there where I think it would fill in for a bass really well as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below if you want to support what I'm doing on the channel. Links are in the video description to some of the music that I make with my band Ragdoll and my Patreon, and I'll see you all on the next one.